Hi, and welcome. This is the Board of Education meeting being held on Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. We're calling the meeting to order at 5:30. If you could please call the roll.
Mrs. Arvanites?
Here.
Mrs. Assef?
Here.
Mrs. Caforio? Mr. Collins?
I'm here.
Dr. Henry?
Here.
Mrs. Hostler?
Here.
Mrs. Troutman?
Here. 6 board members present, 1 absent. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
I move that the Board of Education move into closed session for the purposes of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. 5 ILCS 122C1. Collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. 5 ILCS 122C2. The placement of individual students in special education programs and other matters relating to individual students. 5 ILCS 122C10. Discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by Section 2.06, 5 ILCS 122C21.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mrs. Troutman, second by Ms. Hostler. Can we please call the vote?
Mrs. Troutman?
Yes?
Mrs. Hostler?
Yes.
Mrs. Assef?
Yes.
Dr. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio? Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Arvanites?
Yes, 6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Motion passes. The board will move into closed session. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. The board has been in closed session for items listed on the agenda since 5:30. We have 7 board members present and 0 absent. At this time, I ask that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we're going to start our night tonight with a report and presentation. We have the Elmhurst Park District, here with us. If you can please step forward. And the floor is yours.
Excellent. Good evening. I'm Kevin Graff, President of the Elmhurst Park Board of Commissioners. I'm glad to be here tonight on behalf of the board and would like to thank the school board, the superintendent, and staff for providing us this opportunity to share information about our referendum. On behalf of my fellow commissioners, I'm very excited that we are giving the residents of Elmhurst the choice to fund high-priority projects identified by the community. And now I'll turn it over to Jim Rogers to present how we hope to elevate Elmhurst parks. Jim?
Thank you, Commissioner Graff. Appreciate that very, very much. And again, let me echo and share Commissioner Graff's thanks to the board for giving us this opportunity to share this information with you and with the broader community at large. And I'd like to start off, if I could, by just saying right up front that we are not here, the Park District, seeking any sort of endorsement of any kind from the school board. We are simply here to share information and continue to get the word out about the opportunity in front of the community. And with that, we'll go through our presentation. So as Commissioner Graff has said, we put at your place for each of you a postcard here that describes what is in front of the community, and that is, it's your Park District, your community, your choice. We have a referendum on the November 5th ballot. We've obviously been working on getting information out for a number of months now, and for the longest time we were saying the voting is coming up, starting soon, starting with early voting on September 26th, and we're well past that, and now obviously this coming Monday on October 21st, early voting will begin here in Elmhurst, but all working towards the election day of November 5th. This group that I'm standing in front of, more so than really any other group I've spoken to, gets referendum, understands what they're all about. We are talking about a bond referendum here, so this is not a permanent tax increase. It's a 25-year bond, and as you, again, well know, these funds can only be used for the construction of the projects that we're talking about, cannot be used for operational costs like paying salaries and utilities and that kind of a thing. It's based upon our Elevate, these projects come out of our Elevate Elmhurst Parks plan, and it's based upon a tremendous amount of feedback that we received from the community during our planning process, primarily in 2023. We received over 4,800 individual touch points of feedback from the community, everything from a statistically significant community survey that we conducted to open houses that we held. We had a really fantastic online tool called Social Pinpoint that residents were able to use. It was a GIS-based mapping tool where residents could go on and highlight this park or this location or even sometimes this school and say, oh, we wish we had the Park District could do this at, with the school district here or add a new swing at this playground here. And so a tremendous amount of feedback that we garnered from the community. And what came out of that, kind of the overall urgency that the community talked to us about was looking at addressing the Park District's aging facilities. We as a Park District operate about 24 different facilities in the community, the average age of which is between 50 to 60 years old. Secondly, we have overflowing demand. And when we were working on this plan in 2023, for the last full year of 2022, and I'll speak about it more in a moment, but the amount of folks that ended up on wait lists for Park District programs and services that we simply could not serve because of available space is kind of a staggering number. And then space versus need. One of the other things that we are challenged with is the fact that many of the Park District facilities that we operate are buildings that were originally built for one purpose and then have been repurposed for another, none more so than the Wagner Community Center, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then the last area was essential funding, and we'll talk just a little bit, again, because this is a very well-informed group, a little bit about why this is being proposed as a referendum and were there other financial avenues that could have been considered. So from the community survey data, what the community told us from an indoor recreational perspective is that they would like to see us pursue things, if possible, like indoor running and walking tracks, more gymnasium space, indoor turf, of which there really isn't much of any in this community, and then also more multi-purpose spaces for community use as well. These pictures show you our current Wagner Community Center, which for those of you who've been in town a long enough time or are historians of the community, was the former Cornell Elementary School. As I was prepping for tonight's presentation and looking at these photos, I thought they might ring true to many of you because they look like some of the photos of school buildings prior to your most recent referendum. So the hallways there on the left, again, look like some of the elementary schools from back in the day. We have significant space constraints, and then yes, that really is the boiler that operates the building right now still to this day. In addition, because it is an elementary school, was not built as a community center, we are challenged with not having areas for parents and participants for waiting and viewing during programs, so we end up with a lot of folks inappropriately having to sit in halls or wait outside of classrooms, and our lobby there shown on the right is very, very crowded, again, taking walls down of former classrooms and making space as best we can. So what we're looking at here, the primary focus of the referendum is a reimagined Wagner Community Center, and this would call for taking down the 1950s, 60s former Cornell Elementary School completely and replacing it with a new facility that would have a free 3-lane indoor walking, jogging track for residents to use, a gymnasium for sports such as pickleball, basketball, and volleyball, indoor turf for things like soccer, pickleball, lacrosse, you name it, larger spaces for our gymnastics programs, early childhood and dance, and then multi-purpose spaces for programming and community gathering as well. Again, talked a little bit about the Wagner Center, but again, 1950s elementary school, and again, this board has faced all these types of challenges. It comes with accessibility, safety, efficiency issues. We did look at the notion of renovation and expansion, and I wanted to mention that I had the opportunity to, with one of our other commissioners, present this information to the PTA at a number of schools throughout the district, but just last week at Edison Elementary School, and I have not been in Edison since the referendum projects were completed, and I have to tell you, I was just struck. The transformation in that building is just incredible, and in fact, it had been since pre-referendum that I had been there, so I was instructed, fortunately, it said that the entrance isn't back at the west end anymore. You have to go to the east end and come into the school that way. So I was glad for that information. But went in the new entrance and walked to the back towards the gym, and I was really struck as we went down the hallway just how fantastic it looks, and the classrooms have been so freshened and brightened up. It just looks amazing. And I was kind of thinking to myself walking down the hall that this is something akin to what we could potentially do at the Wagner Center now. But the challenge in doing that is that what we would then have is exactly what you have, which is an incredibly renovated, updated elementary school. And this community is telling us that they would like to see spaces that better serve the recreational needs of this community, not are in a repurposed elementary school. So we did look at renovation and expansion, but it really determined that it will not meet the community's needs. So I talked a little bit earlier about the demand that we see, and when we put this plan together in 2023 and we're getting feedback, we ran numbers for the last full year prior to that in 2022, and in that year we had 5,600 registrants who wanted to be in programs of ours that we simply had to turn away because we did not have enough space to offer. Just a staggering number, one that is kind of unconscionable, and we would certainly love to be able to do something to try to address that. In addition, with these new spaces, not only would we be able to accommodate wait lists for programs that we offer right now, but we would be able to expand our programming greatly through the use of the indoor turf spaces and the gymnasium spaces as well. This board, I'm sure, is aware we have a fantastic intergovernmental agreement between the Park District and the school district that basically over a number of decades has leveraged strengths that each of our organizations have against weaknesses that we also have to make better use of resources for the community, in that we have outdoor athletic spaces, which the school district has need of and perhaps their own shortage of, and you have indoor spaces that we're able to make use of because we are so deficient in indoor spaces, and particularly in the notion of not having any gymnasium space for our entire history until just last year or 2 years ago when we bought the former Redeemer Center on St. Charles Road, which serves to some extent, but again, just a small elementary school-sized gym. So this gives you kind of a conceptual look at what the new Wagner Center would look like from the ground view as you would approach entering it, and then this is an overhead shot. We are looking at what the project would be, as I said, to replace the existing center, take it down completely, and build a new building in its place on the same site with all of the types of amenities that I mentioned, coming along with that would be a larger parking lot as well that would be necessary for the expanded space. I should have mentioned, of course, it's your board meeting, but if any of you have any questions while I'm speaking, please just shout them out if you have any there. Wanted to highlight a couple of things that I thought might be of interest to the school board and school district. We are, as I said, proposing a multi-sport gymnasium of about 27,000 square feet. It would have 4 high school regulation-sized basketball courts, 12 pickleball courts, 4 practice volleyball courts, or 2 available for competition. We'd also have a viewing area, and we'd also look at doing netting systems like you have in the field house at York that would be able to allow for the facility to be split up, but also to do things like drop-down batting cages. Indoor turf as well, about almost 25,000 square feet. It's proposed to be a 60 by 40 yard field, which is considered a U9 field or 7v7. Same thing, drop-down netting available, viewing, so it could be used for multiple sports. One thing we like to point out is that, excuse me if I didn't say this, the current Wagner Center, the old elementary school, is about 25,000 square feet. We added on a gymnastics center when we bought it 20 years ago that's about 7,000 square feet. So the total building right now is about 32,000 square feet, but the old elementary school is about 25. Both the gym and the indoor turf themselves are about 25,000 square feet. So we really are talking about a significant enhancement in the amount of programming space that we would have available. We point that out, too, because we've had a number of questions from folks in the community about the focus in this plan on indoor spaces versus outdoor fields. And when we surveyed the community, what we asked them about from a recreational amenities perspective was what on a whole host of things, from pickleball to baseball to soccer to swimming to football. We asked the community about the importance that that activity held to their household and what their unmet need was for it. And so when those results came back, the things that we are highlighting and proposing in this plan are the things that really rated highest in importance and unmet need. Other things that are very, very important to this community didn't rate as highly because there isn't nearly the amount of unmet need. And best example of that from the Park District perspective is outdoor soccer and football fields and outdoor ball diamonds, where we have, as you can see here, 36 outdoor rectangular fields and 27 outdoor diamond fields. So while they're very important, there really isn't that same level of unmet need as compared to, as we show here, as I mentioned, 1 basketball court and no indoor turf. One of the other things we like to address, too, is does it mean that those types of things in the community will not in any way be addressed? And the answer to that is no, that if this referendum passes and we are able to replace that 70-year-old building, we will obviously no longer be spending dollars to operate an older, inefficient building like that. We will also reduce our maintenance costs, and we will significantly increase the amount of non-tax revenues that we are able to generate from program registration fees and rentals of the facility. And we believe that those dollars will be such that we will be able to operate the new facility and also have dollars that then we can reinvest back into the park system as well. In addition to asking about indoor recreation, we asked about outdoor recreation, and 2 things rose to the top in terms of things the community wanted to see the Park District pursue. One of those being permanent outdoor restroom buildings, and then the other being an outdoor community band shell. And so we're looking at proposing a permanent community band shell in Wilder Park. The Park District has been doing and offering concerts, movies in the park, and performances for decades. More than decades. In fact, we believe our records show that going back to the 1940s, that a program called Music Under the Stars was one of the first programs that the Elmhurst Park District ever offered in Wilder Park, an outdoor concert series, but always with temporary stages that we rented, or we used to have something called a showmobile, which is a stage that's on a trailer that we would back into the park. So the community is saying they would like to see something that's on more of a permanent basis. This next picture, again, I realize it's a little small on the screen there, but kind of just orienting where the band shell would be located in Wilder Park. And it would be basically in the same location as to where we've always done concerts or shown movies, out in that big lawn area east of the Wilder Mansion. But again, really the focus on it being a community band shell. So we're not talking about things like permanent seating or terrace seating. This is still the notion of bring your blanket to spread out, bring your lawn chairs, and come and enjoy a nice community-based performance. And then the number one thing that was highest rated above everything that I've talked about so far in our plans is indoor restroom buildings, or I should say permanent restroom buildings. We have a number of permanent restroom buildings in some of our parks, but in many, many others we have porta potties that we provide for park users, and the community is saying they would like to see that shift and where we would have more permanent restroom buildings. So we are looking at providing permanent restroom buildings in 4 parks throughout the community, up on the far north end of town at Crestview Park, at the far south end of town at Eldridge Park. We're looking at having permanent restroom buildings be a part of the Bandshell and Wilder Park. And then lastly, we're looking to provide a permanent restroom building along the Prairie Path in Elmhurst. During our planning process, we put together a group called our Elevate Advisory Committee, made up of representatives from a number of groups in town, but also demographics throughout the town, whether that be seniors or empty nesters or parents who have children in our programs, to all of the various athletic groups in town. And one of the groups that's been a part of that has been the Elmhurst Running Club. And during this planning process, we learned that there's a saying in the Elmhurst Running Club, and that is, if you have to use the restroom and you're on the Prairie Path in Elmhurst, where do you go? And the answer is Villa Park. And we believe very strongly that that shouldn't be the answer in this community, and the community is telling us that as well. So we would love to be able to address that. Finally, one other thing, again, of interest, certainly to the school district and to York High School in particular, the notion of the fact that we're looking at, up at Barron's Park, where the Wagner Community Center is currently located. We have 4 full-size soccer fields. 2 of them are natural grass and 2 of them are synthetic turf. We are looking in this plan to convert one of the natural grass fields over to synthetic turf. Again, as this board well knows, get so much more playability out of that, don't have issues of worrying about rainouts and things like that. And it's also being considered to mitigate the fact that we will be losing one of our full-size fields up at Barron's Park, or about 60% of it, but we're looking to mitigate that with the synthetic turf and then also the indoor turf inside the facility as well. This slide here shows the map on the right of the locations in the community, but more importantly on the left, the timeline that we're looking at. If this referendum passes successfully, we will spend the bulk of 2025 doing many things, but 2 primarily is making plans to temporarily relocate our programs out of the current Wagner Center, and then also diving into the deep design development and engineering for the facilities to bring those forward to construction. And then, we would then move out of the current Wagner Center in the fall of 2025 and be out for 2 years and move back in the fall of 2027. And then the smaller projects, the restroom buildings and the band show, would take place kind of within that same time frame as well. In addition, this would be a historical milestone for this community and particularly for the Elmhurst Park District. The Park District has not gone to referendum since 1971, so that's 53 years ago. I feel it would be irresponsible for me not to mention to this group that in every presentation that I do mention to the community, as we're speaking to them, that in that period of time, the school district has gone to referendum 8 times, again, since 1971, with 6 of them being successful. And we mention that because it's evident in this community by the quality of our school system and the quality of the school facilities, how when the community backs a referendum, it really does pay off. And we also mentioned things like the library referendum as well as being very akin to this one in terms of folks understanding a referendum like this where it's a bond referendum and it really does come back off the tax bills after it's paid off. So really would be a historical milestone. As we said, Park District has not gone to referendum since 1971. Some key financial takeaways. This is not in any way being proposed because the Park District has any sort of financial difficulties. Quite the opposite. We're in very good financial condition. We have a AA1 bond rating. We receive awards annually for both our budgets and our audits. We're very proud of having received millions of dollars over the years to help fund capital improvements and projects that we're in the midst of. But that graphic we show in the right-hand corner there, bottom right-hand corner, about insufficient funding is we are subject to something called a non-referendum debt limit, which limits the amount of debt that the park board can take on without going to referendum, and it is not nearly sufficient to allow for us to even consider something like doing a new community center. So if it is ever going to happen in this community, it would have to be through referendum. Again, I appreciate because we took some lessons from the communications that the school district did during its last referendum and want to make sure that folks understand that just as quality schools protect property values, Park District amenities and open space do as well. So we've been sure to highlight that. We feel that it will enhance the overall health and vitality of the community and make Elmhurst an even better place to live, work, and play. Jump into some finances just a little bit. We share this chart with folks to illustrate, as with schools, Park District, we get compared to neighboring communities a lot. And one of the things we like to show folks is where the Park District's tax rate sits in comparison to every other park district in DuPage County. So these are just the park districts by bar graph there. And as you can see with the green bar and the red arrow there, where the Elmhurst Park District sits in relation to other communities. And then this graphic, if you'll allow me a little bit of a joke, I hesitated whether I wanted, you all know this information, but did I really want to throw this up on the screen in front of the school board? But it's important information for the community to understand, particularly on the right there, that the Elmhurst Park District receives 5 cents of every property tax dollar that residents of this community pay. I should have mentioned, I'd like to mention when I started, and I forgot, Kevin and I both, Kevin, of course, as an elected official, but he and I both 30-plus year residents of the community, so I always like to mention that we're taxpayers. Of course, Kevin is as elected official, but I am as well. I've lived in the community a long time. Both my daughters went through the school system. I probably should have opened with that, but please know that as well. Hawthorne, Sandburg, and York. But we like to make folks aware that just 5 cents of every property tax bill dollar goes to the Park District, and then the bar graph or the pie graph on the left there showing the percentage of dollars. And I will tell you, when we present this to folks and they see that, people get it. They appreciate what the school district's percentage of the tax bill is, because the schools are such high quality, this district is such high quality, and the facilities are as well. But we want them to be aware that if they want to have similar types of quality for the Park District facilities, there needs to be an investment made by the community. Here again, I apologize, a little bit small on your screen there, but the top part of this chart, we're showing the proposed cost for the referendum. The total cost for all of the projects is just under $90 million. The vast majority of that is the community center itself, which is at the top, just under $85 million. And then at the bottom there, we have a chart showing what the approximate cost would be, or what the cost would be for approximate home values in the hundreds of thousands, from 400, 500, 600, 800, and up to $1 million, and similar to, I believe, what the school district did during your referendum. On our website, we have a property tax calculator where folks can go in and take their own property tax bill, take their equalized assessed value, enter it, and be informed as to exactly what it would cost their household. Here at closing, just about wrapping up, and from the big picture benefits to the community, we think we will be able to provide enhanced and more year-round recreation for all ages. We will be protecting property values. We'll be able to provide more modern amenities. We will enhance the quality of life, and it really would be a historical milestone for the Park District and the community. What we are continuing to do is get the word out, and again, can't thank you enough for giving us this opportunity tonight to share this information with you and the broader community. We're holding a series of open houses. We held one actually just this morning. We're doing some online virtual Q&As, so excited to continue to get the word out. Hard to believe, but it's 3 weeks till Election Day. I'm sure every one of us in the room knows that, but 3 weeks from today. And with that, I thank you very much for your time and your attention. Happy to answer any questions if you have any, and if not, we will.
Thank you, Jim.
let you get
Thanks
on
for
with the
being
meeting.
here, Kevin. I think we're good. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item number 5 on our agenda. And in our spotlight and recognition, York High School is up first.
All right, good evening, Jessica Hurt. I have the honor of serving as principal at York Community High School. Thank you for having York here tonight to present on some exciting updates for our building. Tonight, I am joined by Assistant Principal Tim Dykes, Assistant Principal Drew McGuire, amazing students Jackson Rennick and Allison Poku. Last year, let me get my clicker, there we go. Last year, a team of dedicated adults and students started to work on identifying what it means to be a York Duke, with a shared desire to improve the culture and climate at York. The team looked at data. We took a look at what a PLC was doing in student services and sought feedback from stakeholders, those are also shareholders, on what would improve the learning environment at York. Our final product became We Are Dukes, which is an amazing acronym, as you can see, which is a set of beliefs and standards that we will hold ourselves accountable to. It provides students and staff with clear expectations of how we interact with each other and how we conduct ourselves at York. As Dukes, we are dependable, unified, kind, engaged, and strong. Our team then built out resources for the classroom, and the first week of school, we did an extended second period to have teachers process with students as to what We Are Dukes is. We didn't want it just to be a slogan on a wall or on the back of a t-shirt. We wanted it to live in our school building and really become the foundation of who we are as Dukes. Tonight, we are going to highlight two of the characteristics of what it means to be a Duke with tangible examples. I'll turn it over to the team to share how Dukes are both dependable and engaged.
Okay. Move this along here. Okay, so speaking of dependable, when we talk about dependability at a place like York, we're really talking about the fact that we all rely on one another. York has, on any given day, you're talking about approximately 3,000 people that are coming into that building all under one roof. And I like to say to people, it's like a small city. We have to look out for one another. Okay, so it cannot be reliant on just one person or one group of people, but we need to really rely on one another and be dependable to one another. So some examples of that, from a safety standpoint, we are now requiring students to have physical IDs when they come to the building every day, and they are required to swipe into the building every day when they arrive. Excuse me. That's for safety purposes. We have seniors who have the privilege of leaving campus for lunch. When they leave, they have to swipe out. They have to swipe back in. Another stress that we've made this year in terms of our exterior doors, there are 43 exterior doors at York. It's a big place and lots of places for people to leave, really stressing to students, number one, it is not acceptable to leave those areas, but number two, the reason why. We made a point of going around and talking to all of the English classes this year and really making sure that students understand not only why we're doing the things that we're doing, but the importance of them and how it relates to their safety and kind of being dependable to one another. From a standpoint of being here and being present, our attendance procedures, we have really tried to tighten up a lot of our attendance procedures at York this year in terms of students leaving for appointments and things like that. And then also just generally speaking, looking out for one another, making sure that as community members, as members of the York community, students, staff members, we're all looking out for one another. You see something, say something, something looks out of place, make sure you mention it, be an upstander, and make sure that we're all looking out for one another as Dukes. So I'm going to pass it over to Allie.
Hello. This year, to increase dependability on each other and just in between students, we introduced the cell phone rule. So now cell phones are not allowed in classrooms, which was a surprise and a shock to many, but I actually appreciate it because personally, at least for me, at the end of class, I would go on my phone just to make up for the time, wait till my next class. But I've realized that without with the cell phone rule and not being able to use my phone, I'm a lot more productive, getting my homework done, doing a lot more work, just even talking to my classmates. So I think the cell phone policy, it's really helpful, and it's increasing the dependability within each other because students are working more together and we're holding each other accountable.
So the next area we want to focus on is engaged. And our Dukes this year have really stepped up to be engaged in our school community. Whether it's these two students and then the other students that they represent who were part of this last year and really coming together and saying, we want to make our school something special, or it's just every day when the kids are showing up to class and being engaged inside and outside of their class. They are actively participating in class. They are working within their classmates and working together, and they're building small communities inside their classrooms that help in our larger community, like we spoke about earlier. Our students are not only getting involved inside the classroom, but they are being active outside and being engaged within our school, after school, and our curriculars. In the first 2 months of school, we have had over 80% of our students either actively participating in a club, on an athletic team, or attending school events. We currently have 40 students sitting outside of York High School right now watching a movie together for our movie on the field. They showed up today, even though the weather is miserable out there, they are there and they are doing, just being together and being a community and sharing time together. It is something really amazing to see. Our students are going to also be participating next week in a York Week of Service. There will be activities each day after school for students to be involved with. And this is also in conjunction with our other WSC school members. So we are not only engaged inside of our classrooms and our classroom communities, we are engaged within our building, we are engaged outside at our activities, and we are also being engaged with our local high schools and conferences as well.
Adding on to what Mr. McGuire said, you can be engaged in a lot of stuff at York High School. What I'm gonna focus on is in the classroom and kind of like sports and activities. So in the classroom, we created rules. We changed our tardy procedures. Last year, you would have to scan in or go find someone like a hallway monitor and get a long strip of piece of paper. That would take 5-10 minutes of your class period. So you'd miss the first 10 minutes of class, which is probably the most important part because that's when everything is explained. So when you miss that, we changed it to where you don't have to get the piece of paper. You just go to your class and your teachers will mark you, which that helps you being engaged because if you don't know what's going on, it's kind of hard to follow on what you're doing and it's kind of hard to participate in class and it kind of leads to you not being engaged. Outside of the classroom, I participate in football, basketball, and baseball, and we have spirit weeks for all the sports, whether it's football, for basketball, girls like football. We have spirit weeks for all these teams, and it's kind of cool to see just from like as a player to see like all these people engaged in the spirit, trying to make York a better community and supporting us while we play. And it's just amazing to see everyone cheering, everyone having a good time, and it's just a cool thing to see about everyone being engaged.
Adding on to what Jackson said about engagement in a classroom, we just have some tangible examples. So we know that students, when they're engaged, they're able to make stronger connections with the content, but also, like Allison said, with their teacher and with their peers, which we know is fundamental to student achievement. And so teachers have been infusing We Are Dukes in classroom activities. There's like that background, I know it's a little small to read, but that is a snippet from Ms. Mylina's English 10 class. She asked students to process the fundamental parts of We Are Dukes and apply it to their own habits of mind for success in her course. And so teachers have been doing this, so it's, again, not just living in a rules space, but it's for students to really grapple with how they can embody these characteristics. We also, additionally, increasing student engagement in the classroom has been a focus for our building leadership team. We've even tweaked our data tool for us as building leaders when we're doing walkthroughs to gauge student engagement and also help our staff reflect on how to increase student engagement. Other ways that we are processing through that is that our themes for our Institute Days are around giving teachers those tools in their toolbox to increase student engagement. We Are Dukes is truly a collaborative movement built with an intentional focus on strengthening the learning environment at York. We Are Dukes transcends just rules by naming the actions and characteristics that we want our students to possess. This work reestablishes a foundation of high expectations for students and staff, and we are so fortunate at York to have amazing students, like our students who came tonight, to help us out, and a dedicated staff who want to ensure that our students are developing these skills to be successful in the post-secondary world. We Are Dukes is a visible reminder of these high expectations to help students be the best versions of themselves. On behalf of everyone who's presenting tonight, we wanted to thank Dr. Campbell and the Board of Education for all of your support of York, and We Are Dukes. We also have a parting gift for everyone, and Mr. Dykes will hand those out. So thank you so much for your time, and go Dukes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time and for being here. Appreciate you presenting to us on, updating on what is happening at York High School. We will move on to item B, which is Principal Appreciation Week, and I think I'm turning it over to Beth. Whatever you want.
Okay, so Principal Appreciation, this Principal Appreciation Month, and Principal Appreciation Week has been declared for October 20th through the 26th. And so I just wanted to read a proclamation from the state of Illinois and then say a few words to appreciate our principals across the district. Whereas school principals play an integral role in nurturing a positive student-centered culture in elementary, middle, and high schools across the state of Illinois, and whereas school principals are responsible for attracting and retaining the best teachers and support staff to ensure that each child receives equitable educational opportunities and services to reach their potential, and whereas it is the primary responsibility of the state of Illinois to provide adequate and equitable resources for schools so that all students have access to a quality education and foundation for a successful future, and whereas the Illinois Principals Association, which represents over 6,600 educational leaders statewide, believes that educators' experiences and voices are essential to crafting effective education policy. And whereas school leaders face many obstacles in supporting and educating our young people, and it is through their perseverance, passion, and hope-filled leadership that Illinois continues to produce quality, career-ready students. And whereas we must continue to encourage, support, and recognize our school principals who have a positive impact on Illinois students and the educational system in the land of Lincoln. Therefore, I, J.B. Pritzker, who is not I, Governor of the state of Illinois, do hereby proclaim the week of October 20th to 26th, 2024 as Principals Week, and Friday, October 25th, 2024 as Principals Day in Illinois to recognize principals and the Illinois Principals Association for all that they do to help our children learn and succeed. So I just wanted to take a few minutes on behalf of all of us on the Board of Education to recognize the hard work and dedication of our building principals across the district. Not only are they leaders, but they are role models, mentors, and are tasked with upholding the culture and values that our school communities are built upon. Our principals make sure that our schools are a place where students feel encouraged and engaged as they learn, that our staff members are supported and inspired and have the tools they need to do their job every single day. And they ensure that families feel informed, valued, and connected as partners in their children's education. So to all of our principals, we know you have a huge job that comes with a lot of responsibility. We truly appreciate all your efforts to create a school environment that is welcoming, supportive, and thriving. The work you all do collectively for this organization directly impacts the success of our students and is felt by all of us in our own school communities. Happy Principal Appreciation Week and month.
Thank you, Beth. We'll move on to public comments. The public comment section of the board meeting provides an opportunity for community members to share information and perspectives with the Board of Education. And while the board does not respond during public comments, we are listening and thoughtfully considering the messages being shared. Each of us have high expectations for our community and ask that public comments are respectful and do not mention any individuals by name. The way in which we publicly engage when sharing differing perspectives is an opportunity to model healthy and respectful discourse for our students and greater community, while creating an environment of collaboration and partnership. There are up to 30 minutes being allocated for public comments, with up to 3 minutes per public comment speaker concerning items on this agenda. The board secretary will give a reminder when you have 30 seconds left. Let's begin with our first speaker.
Mr. Chavez? We have no other public speakers.
Oh, all right. Sorry about that. I thought I saw him. Okay. We will move on to item 7, which is the approval of board meeting minutes. The approval of regular and special board meeting minutes from September 24th and September 30th, 2024. Are there any changes to the minutes? Seeing no changes, the meeting minutes stand as presented. We'll also be approving the closed session minutes from September 24th and September 30th, 2024. Those meetings stand as presented. Back to reports and presentations, we have the 2024-25 course proposals, and I am turning it over to...
I will kick off and then turn it over to my colleague. So in accordance with Policy 640 Curriculum Development, new courses are presented to the Board of Education and the community in the fall for adoption. The course proposals for 25-26 are planned for presentation to the Board of Education at this meeting as a report, before then becoming a consent action item at the November 19th, 2024 meeting. At this time, I would like to kick it over to my colleague, Katie Lyons, Assistant Superintendent of Learning and Teaching.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. And yes, it's for the school year 25-26. Sorry for that error. We have fixed it in board docs. And this is part of an annual process, and so we're going to be grounded really in our priority objectives of ensuring that our students are receiving high-quality programming throughout their journey of excellence, and particularly tonight we'll take a look at proposals for new courses at the high school level, and I will just highlight some name changes that impact both middle school and high school. Again, this is a yearly process that allows the learning and teaching team in collaboration with student services to really think about our course proposals for the upcoming school year in time for the November meeting, which is when we would be looking for these course approvals or course proposals to be approved. Then that also gives us time to review instructional materials for any new coursework to then bring forward to the board in February. So in terms of the 8 new courses that we wanted to highlight here on the slide, of particular note that's important is that the proposed new courses will be offered by current York High School staff with no additional sections anticipated. And so you'll see 8 courses. Again, this will be offered by our current York High School staff with no additional sections anticipated for Yearbook 1, Yearbook 3, Journalism 3, Industrial Technology Survey, Music Production Survey, Music Production Survey Leaders, Industrial Technology Survey Leaders, and Piano 2. And so these courses, there's a few reasons listed here on the slide for the additional coursework. Some you'll see are offered because there are certain courses that, for example, as Piano 2, we didn't have a Performing Arts Department did not have a Piano 2 Level 2 option for piano, and that was one of the few courses that didn't have that. And so we wanted to make sure we were providing students with the opportunity to explore their purpose and passion within our equitably within and across our departments. You'll also see in particular note our survey leaders, and we have that for music production and industrial tech. And this will be an opportunity for our general education students to support the students in music production survey and industrial technology survey. And that is for our students in the multi-needs program, and it really provides an opportunity for our general education students to demonstrate leadership and take on and explore more leadership within those courses. It's also something that we're looking at York is how we're expanding our additional pathways for students as they're exploring more leadership. I think I'll move on and just highlight they're in your board memo that's also on board docs. There are additional name changes, and although that doesn't necessarily require approval, we wanted to bring attention to the name changes because there are quite a bit of course name changes, if you've looked at the memo, that you will see, and really wanted to highlight the fact that the proposed name changes outlined in that memo, and definitely encourage you to take a look at that, is to provide clarity for students in the enrollment process. It's also to more effectively explain the course sequence, including the honors designations when a course reflects the criteria required for honors credit. Additionally, we wanted to better support students with the college admissions transcript review process as the new changes for name changes for next year align with the more standard course sequences understood by college admissions. So that's very important to us. And then courses that are not going to be offered for next year, I just wanted to briefly highlight these courses as we continue to explore this. But just a bit of history, what you'll notice on the slide are the blended course offerings. And in 2019, York High School engaged in a pilot of the blended learning classes. And since that time, York has not seen a significant growth or interest in the program. But also since 2019 that I wanted to highlight is that York High School has aligned its post-secondary experiences and enhanced offerings, including courses such as AP, dual credit, class-based internships such as our Invite to Teach, our CTE certifications, and entrepreneurship experiences, including our incubator and accelerated experiences. And due to this alignment and expansion, York High School students will continue to have robust post-secondary experiences offered in person for next school year. And so I'd take any questions. Again, definitely check out the memo as those course name changes are there for you to peruse. And there's quite a bit.
Thank you. Courtney?
So thank you. I love hearing the rationale behind when these decisions are made, and I love the additional elective options that are being presented to kids to kind of continue the passion that they find along the way. It gives them the opportunity to continue that exploration at York, which I think is so important in whatever field that they find it in. I also really love the alignment and the sequencing of classes, so it's clear, like what I remember looking, and I still do look through, kind of the course catalog at York, and it's overwhelming. And simplifying that for parents and students, I think, will be incredibly helpful. Just a couple of questions. So the blended courses, I'm curious, I've heard lots of positive input about it over the years, and I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on why, we have not seen an increased enrollment in it, and are other districts that I know that were also involved in the blended programs, are they also moving away from it? And I guess my third part on that one is, will those classes somehow still be available in the regular format of a class offering?
Absolutely. So the course proposals here that we're not offering for next school year are all offered in person. And so we currently have students who will be enrolled in these courses, and they will continue to have those offerings. And so you'll see all of these courses as offerings. You won't see them as blended. We offered about 30 sections of blended last year, and the way that the blended sections work, because it is making sure that we're using our same staff to teach the blended in some circumstances, as well as the traditional or in-person. And so some students who indicated interest in in-person, because we might have had many students indicate interest in in-person, but we were running a blended option. We wanted to maintain class sizes and ensure that there weren't 35 students in the in-person section. And so some students that indicated an in-person option actually were slotted into a blended section. And so what we're seeing is that we want to make sure that students have more opportunities to engage in person, which is what they're asking for. We were running those 30 sections because we were running blended options. And so we will continue to look at this, as other districts also are. A few districts of note that have moved away from the blended learning options, Maine, District 207, that's probably one that we've been looking at closely. Riverside Brookfield also is not running the blended anymore, as Crystal Lake also. And so we're keeping an eye on it and how some smaller, more rural districts are using it. In those cases, oftentimes it's used more as a cost savings, where they can get 50 students in the class because they might not have as many instructors. And so it's definitely something we want to continue to look at. And as we evolve and as we offer more secondary or post-secondary options, both in person, we don't want to completely rule out blended, but as of right now, we want to explore what that looks like in terms of offerings for students for next year, kind of eliminating these blended, but still offering the courses.
I truly appreciate that, because I certainly don't want blended to be used as a, kind of a backup for in-person, if that's what our students want, right? I don't want kids to, so if that frees up teachers to add an additional class of regular in-person, I think. So I appreciate you guys really digging deep into this and to understanding. I just had one more question. So I noticed, and I didn't see it in the presentation, but I noticed that we're switching some honors courses to non-honors courses and non-honors courses to honors courses. Just, could we talk a little about that to for our community to understand and explain to maybe, is the content of those classes changing? So if it's honors this year and it's not honors next year, does the content of those classes change and vice versa if it goes the other way?
So absolutely. So the Your team has done a really nice job over the past 2 years of really looking at the criteria for honors designation and making sure to evaluate the current offerings that we have and if they meet that criteria. And so we have really tried to align both where we have met the criteria, where we can meet the criteria, and where we have a little bit of work to elevate that offering to meet that designation. And so right now, this is an effort to ensure that we are being very clear of the courses that we are ready to say meet the honors designation, and that doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to look at adding that honors designation in the future. It's just making sure that we're really being strict on the criteria so that students are having a true honors experience, in addition to the other advanced coursework that we offer, so the dual credit options in AP, but really making sure it truly meets the criteria, and then when it doesn't, and we've had to remove that, really looking to see how we can elevate it to ensure it does meet the honors designation in the future.
Anyone else? Courtney asked all our questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Kara, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
Kara.
can't ever see Kara, so I'm sorry. No. We did practice this.
I found a way. Okay, love everything that, you pretty much addressed it, but could you just put out there for the community what the definition of a blended class is?
Absolutely. I will read from our handbook just to make sure that it is very clear. So we do have a blended teacher handbook that is accessible on the York website. And in the handbook itself, I will read the purpose. Maybe just the beginning of it to give an idea, but just wanting to be very clear that folks can access it online. But the purpose of blended learning at York High School is to provide personalized, flexible, and responsive learning opportunities that allow for enrichment, remediation, and differentiation, as well as to address life and career soft skills, such as time management and self-advocacy, before leaving a structured, supported high school environment for the workplace or post-secondary experiences. And so it goes on to talk a little bit about how it integrates traditional synchronous learning, such as real-time learning in the classroom with teacher guidance, with independent asynchronous learning. And so it is really a hybrid approach where students do still meet in person, for a set number of times, but then also engage with more of self-independence and self-directed online. And so there's a bit more, the intent is that there is more ability for the teacher to differentiate and tailor it based on her students' work through, the pace that they're moving and what the work is that they're showcasing. In terms of that experience of preparing students for post-secondary experiences, and as Dukes, we Dukes are really exploring how we are preparing students. Something that's also really true, though, is that we are providing a number of additional post-secondary options since 2019, including AP Spanish Lit is one of the offerings that is new this year, the dual credit and class-based internships. And so we're seeing that these robust offerings are providing those sort of soft skills, particularly those class-based internships where kids are able to manage their time. So we don't feel as though that taking blended away is going to sacrifice opportunities for students to explore some of that independence, as well as the personalized approach from teachers. It's just a bit different. Maybe it's not called blended, right? But we really feel like doubling down on these and potentially looking for more opportunities within the post-secondary students' classroom or courses that you see here, AP, dual, CTE certifications, et cetera, will really provide more of a robust in-person opportunity for students. So we'll continue to look at that again as we evolve.
Okay, thanks. Thank you for that definition.
I had a feeling that would come up.
And then I just wanted to say thank you to whoever, that, there are now some additional options for our students in multi-needs, because if you have been through that program or have a child in that program, you know that there have typically only been 1 to 2 options for the entire 4 years of choices for them to take in classes. So I know sometimes kids repeated a class just because that was the only option. So that's a great step forward for District 205.
Yeah, absolutely. So our students with multi-needs will be able to have art and foods one year, each one semester, and industrial tech and music offering the next year. Each one would also be a semester. So really making sure that all of our students are having robust programming offerings throughout their journey. Yes, and we'll continue to look at that.
Any other comments? Okay. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Lyons, for thorough course proposal presentation. Lots of definitions. All right, with that, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from consent? Okay, then, can we have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I move that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda items: A, personnel report; B, financial report; C, FOIA Freedom of Information Act requests; D, second read, Section 2, Board of Education Policy 270, 2125, 2160, 2260, 2265; E, second read, Section 4, Operational Services, Policy 415, 440, 470, 480, 4140; F, second read, Section 5, Personnel Policy 5130, 5180, 5200, 5285, 5310; G, second read, Section 6, Instruction, Policy 6110, 6140, 6150, 6230; H, second read, Section 7, Students, Policy 720, 7170, 7185.
I'll second. Oh, I have to speak, sorry. Motion made by Ms. Troutman, sorry. By Ms.
did my
Troutman,
part.
second by Arvanites. Please call the vote.
Mrs. Troutman?
Yes.
Mrs. Arvanites?
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio?
Yes.
Dr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Hostler?
Yes.
Mrs. Assaf?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, motion passes. Move on to item 10, the agenda action items. Letter A is approve medical and dental contracts. Chris?
First of all, Alliant is our insurance broker, and we have Brian Terrell here representing Alliant, just in case there are questions. He is here. He did a presentation at the last board meeting. But anyway, so based on insurance claims utilization and medical and pharmacy trend, the Blue Cross Blue Shield underwriters and Alliant determined that an increase of 10.1% in premiums was necessary. The insurance committee had several meetings to study cost containment strategies for our plans. After months of due diligence by the insurance committee, the most important change was recommended, which was to change both the PPO1 and the HSA to the Blue Choice Options 3-tiered network structure. We also recommended 5 pharmacy cost containment strategies, including adding flex access to the HSA, adding multi-category split fill, excluding non-sedating antihistamines, requiring a pre-authorization for compounds over $300, and a member pay the difference program. And lastly, we are committed that the insurance committee will closely monitor the utilization of GLP-1 and assess if changes need to be made based on the data trend analysis. The committee will reconvene in January to analyze and discuss trends and findings on the GLP-1. As a result, the premium equivalent rates will increase by 7.2% for the PPO and the HSA plan, and there will be no increase for the HMO. The average across the 3 plans is a 5.1% increase. As I stated earlier, the original increase was a 10.1%. After the cost savings being implemented, this was reduced to 5.1%. The dental plan will increase premium equivalent rates by 12.5%. Overall, the hard work by the insurance committee resulted in cost savings for the district and staff while maintaining high-quality health care benefits and minimal disruption for staff.
Thanks, Chris. Can we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the renewal of Blue Cross Blue Shield health and dental insurance plans for the January 1 to December 31st, 2025 year as presented. The Insurance Committee will continue to meet and review relevant data to maintain high quality and attractive benefits and simultaneously mitigate annual premium increases, which would reduce costs for the district as well as staff members.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mrs. Hassler, second by Dr. Henry. Are there any comments from the board? Jim?
I just want to explain why I'm going to vote no on this. First of all, I think the Insurance Committee has done a commendable job recommending changes which control cost increases to just over 5%. And I fully support all of those recommendations that the Insurance Committee is bringing to the board. My concern is over what seems to be a minor point of not requiring pre-authorization for these GLP-1 weight loss pharmaceuticals. They are very expensive. They're $1,400 a month. Pre-authorization is a fairly minor requirement, and it is based on the latest standard of care in medicine. The district hired Alliant, as Mr. Welton said, to provide their expertise in recommending changes to our healthcare insurance offerings. And as I pointed out at the last meeting, Alliant tells us that half of the districts they consult with don't even cover these drugs. The half that do require pre-authorization except for District 205. Now, I'd be willing to take that risk if we had a good reason. Unfortunately, we do not. So I view not requiring pre-authorization for this class of drugs as a bad business decision for our employees and for our taxpayers.
Courtney?
So first, to echo what Jim said, I'm incredibly appreciative of the committee's efforts. The time that they have put into this endeavor is not gone unnoticed and unappreciated. I have great respect for the time and effort put in. As this board has mentioned, and Dr. Henry has mentioned many a times, we are a priority for this board is the health and safety of our staff. And I don't want that to get lost in a discussion about what's also best for our taxpayers in our community. I'm disappointed that there was not agreement to some of the items that I really feel could do could play a significant part in alleviating future potential costs to our taxpayers. I'm also voting no tonight because it's my strong belief that we need to do more to control our future spending. There is data to support that there are further cost-saving measures that do not impact our staff in a negative way. And there is not a good reason, in my opinion, for us to be an outlier of what all other school districts are doing, just because, just because of a fear or a misunderstanding or not knowing what this means. The asks, in my opinion, are common sense. They do not impact our staff in a negative way. They're not preventing them from receiving a benefit if they're qualified for it. And potentially, down the road, it could save our taxpayers a significant amount of money. So I just wanted to explain my position on this moving forward.
Anyone else? Kara?
So while I don't disagree with my colleagues, I actually will be voting yes as a respect to the process. The Insurance Committee is a new committee as a result of the most recent contract with the Elmhurst Teachers Council. And so in respecting the process and the ask for a little more time to gather some data, and keeping in mind that we are implementing some other changes, I want to respect that they've asked for some more time to consider and, gather data. I think that, also it's a new committee that got thrown into having to make a lot of decisions right away. And I think that a little time to catch their breath, evaluate the changes that have been put in place, that are being put in place, and gather a little more data and discussion is okay. Again, I have said this multiple times, these increases are not sustainable for the district. So as a whole, meaning board, administration, employees, we have to collaborate to find the best possible outcomes that have minimal impact on our employees, but also help us control costs. And that is an expectation that I think we have, and I hope that everyone in the committee can really understand that this work is not going to be just a couple months a year. It's got to be all year long to come up with solutions, maybe some that are out of the box, to ensure that our costs are contained or managed, I should say. The reality is we have a finite amount of money. The majority of what we spend is on salary and benefits, and if we're spending increasing amount on benefits, we will not be able to spend as much on salaries. And so that, there's a pot of money, and if more and more goes to insurance and employee health benefit costs, then our salary costs will have to be cut. So I just think I can respect the process. I really appreciate the collaboration. I know it's been really hard work. I also know when you talk about benefits, we're all human, and there's an anxiousness that happens, and I think it's super important that everybody educates themselves on what it really is an impact for each person on proposed changes that have been discussed. So I am willing to respect the process and give the committee some more time that they've asked for. Thanks.
Kelly?
First, again, want to thank Jim and Kelly and the rest of the committee that has just worked so hard and spent countless hours on this. We really appreciate all the time and effort that's been put into this. I, like Jim and Courtney, have concerns about not approving a prior authorization for the GLP-1s today, and seeing what waiting to gather data will bring. However, I am willing to respect the process as well, and the work of the committee and allow more time to gather data, but I just want to state that I feel very strongly about us absolutely revisiting this in January and revisiting the prior authorization for GLP-1s and monitoring the increases of numbers of employees who go on these drugs. And, overall, we're looking to reduce the cost for the district and the staff members. So we want to make this a win-win for everyone. So I'm going to be a yes today, but it's a hesitant yes, and I want to make sure that we continue to monitor this like we're saying we're going to, and definitely revisit in January.
As somebody who's part of the committee, I first want to say that I echo everybody's comments so far, and I'm also, equally concerned about the financial impact health insurance will have in the future. This committee has spent hours really collaborating to get to the place that we're at right now, and I think we, need to celebrate where we're at as far as the reduction in costs that we're seeing with this plan that is hopefully going to be approved tonight. And I want other members of the committee to know that we are respecting the process and that we're hearing members asking for more time and more data before making more decisions. And so I look forward to continuing to work with other committee members and progress towards making a recommendation to the board in the future through the committee in the coming months on more solutions for the GLP-1 drugs.
I just would say that I echo the thoughts and that my colleagues have expressed, and I appreciate that the committee, our board members and staff and administration are willing to go back and look again at some of these possibilities and have a little bit more data and information and understanding, as Kara said, of the impact of these different decisions. I appreciate all the work that's been done at the Insurance Committee. I want to thank my board colleagues for in their volunteer role. I know this is many hours, and I appreciate your dedication to the process as board members. Our community doesn't always understand all the different roles we play as board members, and it's not just one meeting a month, but there's a lot of other things we do as well. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody on the committee.
I'll go in closing. I am in full agreement with everything that has been said, and understanding that insurance and what the district has been experiencing over the course of the last 3 years is a very large and heavy topic. It's had a profound impact on the district and our staff and all employees. And that moving forward, we all know that there is a need for some shift here, and want to thank the committee for sending a comprehensive proposal that considered all aspects of the recommendations made by our insurance consultant, and included, the Blue Choice and the 5 scripts as a great start, and also thank you to the committee for committing to the continued work that's going to come. This challenge is not going to go away. We've been told for multiple years that this is our new normal. And so there has to be an openness and a collaboration and an effective collaboration that helps everyone understand each other's perspectives, but also balance the positives and the drawbacks to every option that's presented. Just like the board spends ample time analyzing, researching, learning before making every decision we make, we know that the committee is also engaging in that same type of work, and want to thank our current Kelly and Jim for their time and energy, but also the district admin team and the union membership and leadership that has been involved in this process. So thank you for the comprehensive plan, for taking all the time that we've asked you to take, and now more time going into January, because we have some big mountains to climb and potentials here that we need to make sure we're monitoring and keeping a very close eye on. So thank you for that. Any other thoughts or comments? Then if we can please call the vote.
Mrs. Hustler?
Yes.
Dr. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Troutman?
No?
Mrs. Assif?
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
No.
Mrs. Arbonides?
Yes, 5 ayes, 2 nays, motion passes. Item B is the approval of the notice to remedy for a tenured teacher. Can we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education, stand by. Sorry. Approve the notice to remedy resolution regarding a tenured teacher.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mrs. Troutman, second by Ms. Hostler. Are there any comments from the board? Being none, can we please call the vote?
Mrs. Troutman?
Yes?
Mrs. Hustler?
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Assep?
Yes.
Dr. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Arvanites?
Yes, 7 ayes, 0 nays, motion passes. All right, item 11 on our agenda is superintendent's communication. I'll turn it over to Dr. Campbell.
Thank you. We are excited to share once again that the State of the District will be held on October 30th at York High School at 7 p.m. We invite the community to join us as we reflect on last school year and share updates on student achievement as well as areas that we continue to prioritize in our efforts of continuous improvement. In addition to sharing all of the wonderful work that has occurred, we also recognize that this is a current culture of climate of questions and continued concern around student safety. So I also want to say that during the State of the District, in addition to sharing highlights from last year and the current work and the work that's taking place this year, we've also made note to make it a concerted effort to also provide some additional just information with our community as it relates to school safety. We have shared and communicated out to our community in a pretty lengthy communication document, but we know that sometimes just having some voiceover of some of those elements as well as sharing a little bit more detail to help our community understand the urgency, the prioritization, and the attention that school safety continues to receive, not only by the administration, but the safety committee in partnership with the Elmhurst Police Department. So we just wanted to make sure that we share that. We look forward. We invite our community to come out. It is going to be a wonderful night of information and celebrations, as well as really continuing to uplift the work that is taking place here in D205 with our Journey of Excellence. In addition, on tonight, I would like to pass the microphone to my colleague, Dr. Rubenstein, who has a really exciting update to share regarding Madison Early Childhood Center.
I am excited to share that Madison Early Childhood Center has been awarded the prestigious Gold Circle of Quality by Accelerate Illinois. This is the highest level of recognition in the state's quality improvement system for our early learning programs. Madison earned this honor by meeting rigorous standards in areas such as early learning and development, instructional excellence, and program administration. The State Board of Education evaluated the Early Childhood Center based on their environmental rating scale, third edition, and then compliance checklist. Madison received top scores, which is really a fantastic feat. This recognition is a testament to the dedication of the Madison staff, as well as the strong collaboration between Madison, our families, and the community. Families can trust the Gold Circle designation as an indicator of high-quality early childhood education. So just wanted to give a nice shout-out and congratulations to the entire Madison team on this outstanding achievement.
It's exciting.
We also would like to share about our community connections. My colleague, Ms. Daniels.
Yes, so the latest edition, in case you haven't already seen it, the latest edition of the Community Connections newsletter is in homes or on its way to homes. And we're excited to share in this newsletter, we talk about the professional learning communities and how our teachers and staff are working together to enhance student learning and to grow with each other. We're also updating you on some of the referendum projects and summer construction. Also talked a little bit about the award that the Board of Education recently received, and all of these obviously in partnership with the videos that accompany them. And the newsletter is always available on our website. It is a pinned news story on our homepage of our website. You're always able to see that, as well as any previous issues of the newsletter. So enjoy. So that video is a compilation of the social media posts that you'll see on our social media pages throughout the month. Typically, what we have done in the past is just one video like that, celebrating our principals. And this year, we decided to kind of spread them out and give them each a day of recognition to celebrate them as much as they should be celebrated. So all of those images separately are being posted throughout the month on our social media pages. And so we just wanted to share tonight our compilation of all of those images and say thank you to our principals.
Great, thank you. Okay, on to board communications. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share with board colleagues? All right, busy night. Upcoming meetings, October 29th, 2024, we have the Committee of the Whole meeting at 5:30 PM here at District 205 Center. November 6th, 2024, Finance and Operation Committee meeting at 5:30 PM here at District 205 Center. And finally, our next regular board meeting is going to be November 19th, 2024 at 7 PM here at District 205 Center. And with that, this meeting is adjourned at 8:30.